You know, I heard the Prime Minister last night, and I heard him before, on the St. Jude fiasco. And I couldn't help wondering if we've given new meaning to words like consult and consultation and democracy and what else? And you know, I don't get it. A prime minister is written to by a group that wants to express a certain view. Nothing wrong with that. The prime minister can decide, I don't want to talk to these guys, they waste of time if he wants to. It's not a wonderful thing. I would not recommend it. But there are prime ministers who are very careful about their time, you know. You know, if prime ministers and ministers of government reacted positively to every single request, every phone call, every invitation to meet, I don't think they would be doing anything at all other than doing just that. But there's nothing wrong with the SLMDA guys writing letters to the Prime Minister. I think the ideal thing would be for them to present an opinion, that's all they got, an opinion to the Prime Minister on a certain matter. But there ain't no law that says the Prime Minister has to abide by what is suggested to him, by people who are not experts themselves at what they want to advise on, by people who failed on the very thing they want to advise on. That's so absurd. So absurd. Like I said before, wherever you stand, it is undeniable that the St. Jude Hospital, which was promised, a delivery of which was promised before the end of 2015, was only half complete way into 2016. There's no denying that. And I want to hear why that happened. Before you want to talk to me about what I should do about St. Jude, tell me why you failed so miserably, why you misled the people so many times, why you gave them dates that change every time you spoke, but you demand that somebody else who has inherited your mess give you fixed dates on everything, leave no room for vacillation, don't even say an between sentences, etc. That's got to be a joke. And this thing about consultation, to my mind, and not only consultation, but also informing people. That's the other thing, you know, this mixing up informing people, keeping people informed, and consulting. I mean, you think an astronaut or NASA is planning a shot to the moon, and I happen to be an American, so NASA was in a certain position, so NASA it has nothing to do with aerospace or anything like that. NASA must consult with me, or that a congressman must consult with me. What we need in this country is to be well informed, and the avenues to respond easily accessible. But it's so hypocritical when a group of people are famous for secrecy, Grindberg secret, Rochamel secret, hardly anything done involving St. Lucians and in secrecy. Frenwell, St. Lucian didn't know anything about it until an inquiry. Philip Pierre knew nothing about it. He was deputy prime minister. He still knows nothing about it. None of them knows anything about Grindberg. That's the group now talking for open government and transparency and accountability. All good things. But baby, you didn't do it. You acted contrary. You talked one talk and walked another walk. So, especially like on the matter of VAT. I mean, and I keep on saying the SLMDA, which is unfair, because I've spoken to a lot of doctors, and the vast majority that I've spoken to are disconnected from what they consider a political undertaking. If you read the Labour Party's press release, and I'm an expert at judging writing styles, if you read the SLP's press releases and you read the SLMDA, I gotta tell you, the SLMDA guys write, I mean, far, far, far better than the SLP's regular press releases. But recently, a release came out just before the Prime Minister's address on last night, I think a day or two before, anticipating him and making demands on him again. And the writing style is the same as the SLMDA style to the Prime Minister in their various communications. But it came out under the SLP banner. And today, an SLP thing came out. I won't even bother to read it. It's so pathetically written. A review of what they allegedly saw last night. I'm not going into that. I'm just saying, stop pissing in the people's eye. They know it ain't rain. Okay? Stop it. Okay. So, the SLMD, among its demands on a Prime Minister who was elected just 2 years ago, is that he should reimpose on the people of this country VAT at 15%. I mean, that's not arrogance. That is plain stupidity to even think to do something like that. Because one of Alan Shah's, the UWP's main planks was that if they got elected, the Prime Minister would immediately bring about a reduction of VAT. I don't know, the figure was 2%, whatever percent it was, immediate reduction, and hope later on to remove it, ultimately remove it. I remember saying on the show shortly after that, that I can't say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just know it'd be good relief for a lot of people. And I don't even know if he would be able to manage it. But the mere fact that he had a mindset to remove that burden off the people of this country, that swayed me. Whereas the other guy was in fact, the other guy was attacking him for saying during his campaign that he would reduce VAT, etc. The other guy was saying, you have to keep VAT. And by his sound, you got the feeling that if he got into office, he'd increase it. Well, his mindset, for me, versus the Alan Shah's mindset, there wasn't even a contest. Because whether Alan was able to reduce the VAT or not, that didn't matter much to me. The fact that he had the mindset, he understood why it must go, etc., or be reduced, made him a different guy from the other guy who wanted to run the country on taxes alone. Tax people, run the country on taxes, get into more debt, let people pay taxes. At least Alan Shastney is trying to reduce tax burdens. That's enough for me. You don't have to succeed. I would love him to succeed. But try to do it. But when you have made up your mind you're not going to do it, the very thing you said was oppressive, anti-poor, anti-worker, and should not be adopted at all. A few months later, you're in office, you impose it at 15% to start with, and you give every indication that since you can't bring in any kind of investments, we're going to run the country on that mainly. I mean, come on. But the arrogance in telling Alan Shastney, demanding that Alan Shastney reimpose the VAT at 15%, when the contrary is what got him elected, I really wish, guys, in fact, the danger is, when doctors write that kind of stuff, you're tempted to wonder how really good as doctors they are. When a doctor or 3 or 4 doctors write or say certain things that sound egregiously stupid. You wonder how a guy who is so stupid, demonstrably so stupid, can be trusted with your body, with your health. Because you can pass exams, you can pass exams as anything, and you become a menace. And this idea that Alan Chastanet cannot criticize the doctors who wrote him those stupid letters and making demands on him, you can't criticize them because they're a noble profession. And nobody's criticizing the medical profession. You're criticizing the actions of certain people in the medical profession. These are two different things altogether. Two different worlds. You can have crooks as doctors. You can have doctors who will kill people. It happens all the time. A lot of doctors in prison for malpractice. There are a lot of doctors here who should be in prison for malpractice, and I've written a lot of articles about them, but the SLMDA never acted. And these poor people, just no lawyer will stand by them, etc., etc. But if we had lawyers with a conscience, if we had a situation where lawyers could sue on behalf of the poor and split whatever they get for damages and so on, well, I don't know why they don't do that, etc. And if we had real legal aid, that woman, by the way, who died outside the Soufriere Hospital a few years ago, when Kenny Anthony was in office and Damian Greaves was a health minister, I met the man, I brought him on this show. The guy has not recovered. And his kids, that's the trouble, when these things happen, we tend to think, oh, the woman. That woman was allowed to die giving birth like a dog. And the doctors had nothing to say in protest or anything. So don't be fooled by a bunch of people with political ambitions who figure that the easiest way to get to realize their political ambitions is to almost stir up insurrection on fake news, on fake positions, etc. Let them instead tell us exactly why they made so many promises. And the doctors, these same doctors, caught in a trap, tell you, when you ask them, well, how come only now you're recognizing those problems? Because we wish you would have recognized those problems years in, because we've always had a health crisis in this country, but nothing for the doctors. And they will tell you, we were working behind the scenes. So if you were working behind the scenes in St. Jude, then you are culpable for everything that's wrong with St. Jude. If people died at the stadium because of the dilapidated condition of the stadium and you did not report it, that is conspiring. That's a cover-up. You're only now talking about many people died at the stadium. Who are those people? What are their names? Why exactly did they die? Where's the medical report? Where did you complain about it? All those people, because people is plural. All BS. And a doctor who's a bullshitter, you have to worry about him. You have to worry about him. And I don't know what it is with Alan Chastanet. I mean, pay respect. Write me your views. I'll write back. You should write back. Thank you, even to say thank you very much. But he was elected and not anybody in the SLMDA. And at the end of this term, at election time, Alan Chastanet will answer for his successes and his failures and his promises not kept, not the SLMDA. So why does Alan Chastanet have to do what they say? Hear me well. He can listen. It's respectful. He can respond, either for a whole page or thank you very much for your concerns. I'll keep them in mind. But when you are a participant in the mess yourself, forget it.